Hi, I'm Richard Rogers, and I absolutely hope that you enjoy today's spiritual message. You know, we at Unity of Phoenix Spiritual Center are committed to helping people live better lives. We're going to provide you tools over and over, spiritual tools that allow you to live your best possible life. And if you want to leave a donation to continue to allow the work that we do to support other people just like you, we say thank you. Thank you for your generosity, because this ministry is committed to making the world a better place. All right, so how important is being mentally fit to you? We got a couple varies, couple huge, right? So I want you to look at how important it is for you to be mentally fit. Because as we're playing Game On, the second week, it's all about being mentally fit. And for most of us, we don't want to just be mentally fit for today or this week or next week. We would like to live our whole life mentally fit. Can I get an amen? You know, of all the things, I want to be mentally fit. I mean, because I feel like I'm just on the edge now, right? So I want to be mentally fit for my whole life. I want to have this thing and be able to use it every day. So part of Game On is that we're acknowledging that we are a mental creation. That we have a mental component to our lives. We commit to 20 minutes of physical activity, 10 minutes of mental activity. And that's where we're going to go today. We're going to talk about that. Because I don't know about you, but if you've been doing the 20 minutes of physical activity, you might be beginning to notice a change in your body, right? I feel like my body's changing. Show them the picture. I took a new picture of me. There it is. Okay. Now just wipe that image right out of your mind, right? We had the Hans and Franz on Sunday, you know, and I thought, well, let's just go for it. Just send your emails to Richard and tell him how inappropriate you thought that was, all right? All right, so today, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on mental fitness and really focusing on two aspects, the hardware and the software. Right? Because just like your computer has hardware and software, your mind and your brain are both hardware and software. Your brain is the hardware, and your thought process is the software. And we really need to look at both components of these if we're going to live mentally fit. So the first thing I want to look at is the hardware. The 5 top suggestions from Johns Hopkins University on brain health. The number one thing it says we can do for brain health, number one, is weave heart-pumping exercise into your daily routine. It's just like, no, that was last week. Mentally, we don't have to do that. We just think about things, right? And the truth is that if we want to be mentally alive, the number one thing we can do is put in heart-pumping. Now, that's not kind of wandering as you're walking, right? That's actually walking that creates your heartbeat up, right, to higher levels of heartbeat. Number 2, take care of any medical problems, diabetes, heart disease, stroke, hypertension. All these damage the brain. And the good news is that we can reduce our risk in every one of these categories if we take care of it. 3, the third thing, you know what it is? Get enough sleep. That if you want a strong, healthy mind, brain, give it rest. Let it sleep. If you have sleep apnea, if you're a snorer, you need to go get sleep tested. If you're anxious and stressed out and not sleeping, sleep is the third most important thing that you can do. Get enough sleep. Review your medications, and not on Wednesday. I heard the snoring already. Right? Review your medications. Are you taking medications that cause you to be sedated or for anxiety? The medications can really get in the way of proper brain functioning. And the 5th most important thing also surprised me. So the 5th most important thing you can do for brain health is have a strong social network. That it's actually as important to have a community of people around you for brain health as it is to be doing the little brain puzzles. Now, sometimes it's more fun to do a little brain puzzle than to have to talk to the people that are around you, right? But the truth is, we need a strong social community around us for brain health. And then we get into all the brain foods. How many of you can think of at least one food that you know is supposed to be good for your brain? Walnuts, great. Anybody else got one? How about, did somebody say fatty seafood? No, I mean, omega salmon, wild salmon, incredibly good, high in omega-3s. Blueberries, nuts and seeds, avocados are the top 4. Now, you can debate that. I'm not going to debate it, right? But according to the research, those are the top 4 brain foods because they all have good, healthy fats that your brain needs to function at its optimum level. Okay? So when we've done all the hardware stuff that we know how to do, then we move over to the software stuff. What are you doing on a regular basis to change your thought process? Because we absolutely have control over the software. So I want to give you a few things I want you to look at. First one I want you to see is the number one thing that we can do every day to increase our brain function from the software point of view is to actually entertain a new thought every day. The research shows that we have anywhere between 40 and 60 thoughts a day, right? The problem is they tend to be the same thoughts over and over again. We tend to think the same thoughts day after day, throughout the whole day. We think the same thoughts over and over again. Now, there's nothing wrong with thinking the same thought, but there's nothing inherently good about it either, right? Because what happens is when we seem to think the same thoughts is the pathways that we develop in the brain continue to run down the same track. And when you think a new thought, it actually creates new pathways within your brain so that every time you force yourself to entertain a new idea, to think a new thought, you're actually stimulating your brain in a new way. That we actually have to be thinking in new ways to live healthy. Or what happens is that we get more and more crystallized the way we've always been. 2, we actually have to learn again how to concentrate. Do you know 30, 40 years ago, commercials were actually 60 seconds long? And we could actually pay attention for 60 seconds. Can you imagine? Now when they give us a 60-second commercial, it's like a mini-series. Like we almost think there should be commercials in the middle of the commercial, right? Because our brain is actually being trained to tolerate more and more information coming at us faster and faster. But the problem is that the idea that we could hold on to one idea or one piece of information for any length of time without our brain wandering off in another direction, it's becoming more and more difficult for us. And if we're going to meditate, concentration is important. That we can actually entertain one idea, one thought. We can actually focus our mind on God and keep it there for like more than a minute, maybe 20 minutes, even 5 minutes. I want to read something that this is from Jill's grandmother. And it's from her AA stuff. And for Jill, her grandmother's AA stuff is very important to her. So this came out of the vault. So because it really inspired her. It was really important to her. It is really important to her. And this is from Just for Today. Just for today, I will try to strengthen my mind. I will study. I will learn something useful. I will not be a mental loafer. I will read something that requires effort, thought, and concentration. So this is from November 15th, 1971. And at the time, it was 4 cents. Isn't that adorable? 4 cents, right? Right? So the whole idea is that that if we're entertaining one new thought a day, whether it's a TED Talk, a new book that we're reading, that if we're entertaining one new idea and then we actually commit to concentrating long enough that we can integrate it into who we are. Because we've all heard things and go, wow, that's kind of cool, right? And that's the whole thought process we put into it. That's kind of cool. And then it's out. It's gone. We didn't integrate it. We didn't really roll it into our lives. And what if you really entertain one completely new idea every day and focused on it long enough to integrate it into who you are? Can you see the benefit of that? This 10 minutes can really be incredibly powerful in changing the way you relate to life by stimulating your brain in ways that maybe it normally doesn't entertain. Even if you listen to somebody in the news that you 100% disagree with, right? Because what usually happens when we disagree with somebody is we want to tell them how wrong they are. Does anybody else do that when you listen to the TV, yell at the TV about it, just how completely wrong they are, right? Right? And so we're not really listening for anything that we could agree on. We're not really listening to understand them. We're listening so that we can tell them correctly how wrong they are. And what if you could actually concentrate on somebody who disagrees with you? Would that be helpful or hurtful? I think when you look at what's going on in the country right now, I think it's mandatory that listening to people who agree with you is not going to move us forward. That we have to start listening to people who disagree with us. Because we've got to find a middle ground. We have to. Third thing I want you to look at for that 10 minutes every day of mental, I want you to get inspired. I want you to actually listen or experience things, read something every day that inspires you to think bigger, that inspires you to live bigger, that inspires you to be more. I want you to be listening on a regular basis or reading on a regular basis to things that inspire your mind to entertain a bigger life experience, to actually imagine what your life would be, bigger, greater, and more. Then number 4, I'm going to invite you to come up with your 5 power statements. See, part of the job of your brain, of your mind, is to actually program your thought process. So I want you to have 5 power statements that you're affirming every day. And my preference would be that these power statements are really the person that you want to become. That each one of these statements, that you're not changing it every 2 minutes, that you're actually holding on to these power statements until you really integrate them in your life. And I don't care if they're about your relationship, if they're about success or prosperity, or if they're about healing your body. I don't care what your power statements are, but I want you to have 5 power statements. I want them to be on your phone. I want them to be on a card in your car. I want them to be in your work. I want them to be on your refrigerator. I want you to have your power statements that every day, if you took 10 minutes every day to affirm your power statements, then instead of your mind just allowed to go any direction it wants, that every time you get into your scared place, every time you have a hard time believing in who you are, every time you're wondering, is your life ever going to get better, that you come back to these 5 power statements. Here are 5. Now, these don't have to be your 5, but here are 5 power statements. And I'm going to say them once and invite you to affirm them with me the second time. I am becoming more and more successful. Will you say that with me? I am becoming more and more successful. Now let's say it like you mean it. I am becoming more and more successful. New doors of opportunity are opening to me every day. Together? New doors of opportunity are opening to me every day. One more time. New doors of opportunity are opening to me every day. Every cell of my body is healing and regenerating perfectly. Together? Every cell of my body is healing and regenerating perfectly. One more time, just for grins. Every cell of my body is healing and regenerating perfectly. My mind is open to new ideas of greatness. Together? My mind is open to new ideas of greatness. Okay. I have amazing loving relationships. Together? I have amazing loving relationships. Now, do you want to do it like the way we do it at our house? Because the way we do it at our house, we would never let each other sit down. Okay? So that means everybody's got to stand. You ready? And if standing is not comfortable for you, you don't have to stand. But if standing is possible for you, I want you to stand up. Because in our house, we don't do affirmations sitting down. That's too cerebral, right? So now, if you're going to do your affirmations standing up, you got to get your whole body into it. So you got to get a little bit of a wiggle moving, right? So I want you to just wiggle a little bit, right? Your body knows how to wiggle. It really does. Now, when you say these, I want you to say them from the bottom of your toes outward. I want you to move. I want you to claim it. I want you to go big. I want you to say your power statements as if they're actually power statements. How many people saw Tony Robbins' thing, I'm Not Your Guru? Here's this guy who is living the dream. He is living the dream. But every day he is doing his power statements from this place of power. Right? He gets his body involved. He declares it. He feels it. He's alive. All right? So are you ready? We're going to do the same? I actually gave you 6. I cheated. All right? We're gonna do the same 6 power statements. And this time I want you to get loud. I want you to be physical. I want you to wiggle your rear ends. I want you to get into it. You ready? I am becoming more and more successful. Together? I am becoming more and more successful. One more time. I am becoming more and more successful. New doors of opportunity are opening to me every day. New doors of opportunity are opening to me every day. One more time. New doors of opportunity are opening to me every day. Every cell of my body is healing and regenerating perfectly. Together? Every cell of my body is healing and regenerating perfectly. Isn't this more fun than just sitting on your rear ends? Oh my gosh, here we go. You ready? My work is growing and expanding daily. Together? My work is growing and expanding daily. Now, some of you do not want to say that one because you already feel overworked, right? So some of you do not need to say that one. But for the rest of us, here we go. My work is growing and expanding daily. My mind is open to new ideas of greatness. Together? My mind is open to new ideas of greatness. Number 6, I have amazingly loving relationships. Together? I have amazingly loving relationships. Okay, one more time. I have amazingly loving relationships. How's that feel? Was that good? Right? Now you want to take it to even the next level? Now we're not going to do this now because then I lose hold control of the service, right? But we walk it. And we walk it with a stick. We got a walking stick. And when we walk it, we are banging. We are banging the stick. So I am growing every day in wisdom and love. My work is getting greater and greater and greater, and we walk it, and we bang the stick, and we call it our hall of wisdom. And we walk down our hall of wisdom, and we bang the stick. Sometimes Jill will get a feather, and she'll do her feather, or I bang my stick, and we get it going. And I want you to see that 10 minutes of you actually focusing your mind on the things that you want the most would change your life radically. My life is getting, as Richard says, my life every day in every way, my life is getting better and better and better. One more time. Every day in every way, my life is getting better and better and better. Now you can sit down. Thank you very much for playing. Okay? The fifth thing I want to talk to you about for mind fitness and really getting your brain involved, the fifth thing, and probably the most important thing, is learning to quiet it. For most of us, learning to quiet our mind and stop thinking is the thing we need most for mental health. Do you ever feel like maybe your mind has left the station and you don't think there's actually an adult in charge of it? Do you ever wake up in the middle of the night with your mind racing about all your fears? We have to learn how to get a hold of our thoughts. And one of the most important things is we have to learn how to actually stop thinking. We have to learn how to be quiet so that we can touch the next level of good. You know, one of the points I want to make tonight is that every good thing in your life comes into your life first as a thought. And this is really important. I'm gonna even try to draw it, okay? So imagine this is the mind of God, okay? And this is your little mind, okay? Now, in the mind of God is every possibility. Is that true? So there's higher levels of life and joy and peace and goodness and things that we have never experienced before. Levels of life that we don't even understand. Levels of life that we've never experienced on this planet before. Possibilities. Like, who would have thought of cell phones or nano energy? Who would have ever thought of that? But in the mind of God, that is all already completely present. Okay? So, in the mind of God is every possibility. But those ideas actually have to get into our mind. So the seventh thing I want you to think about is what would happen if for 10 minutes every day you just invited the mind of God to fill you with new ideas? What if for just 10 minutes every day you said, God, what new ideas do you have for me today? What's the greatest truth that you could download into my life today? What would I need to know about my family or my work or my health or the planet? What ideas? I have to shut this. I'm getting high. Sorry. Start tripping out on the marker. Right? I'm going to start speaking in tongues in a minute, right? But the idea is that in the mind of God is every possibility. In the mind of God is every possibility. And when we begin to actually turn our focus to the mind of God, every possibility becomes available to us. You know, every time that Einstein had a problem, he took a nap. And the idea is that he wanted to shut off his conscious mind so that he could download the mind of God. And what I want you to see is that mental fitness is not just about you programming your mind, that's fabulous and that's wonderful. That if you programmed your mind with the highest truth that you know, that your life would be radically different. Instead of living in your doubt and your fear, if every day you were programming your mind with the greatest truth you know, I guarantee that you'd be living a greater life. But the thing that excites me the most is when we go beyond that. When we go beyond our limitations, our humanity, and we start downloading God. That's the thing that interests me the most. Because I believe that we could solve our problems. I really do believe that we could solve our problems at the level of greatness that's already within us. But I think we could transform the world if we're actually willing to lay hold of the mind of God and see what else God's got. 10 minutes doesn't sound like a lot. But if you spent 10 minutes every day completely focused on God, I think it would change everything. I open my mind to the greatest wisdom that God has for me. Will you say that with me? I open my mind to the greatest wisdom God has for me. You know, we talk about imagination, and we think about imagination is that we're actually creating it. We're actually generating the new ideas. I see imagination differently than that. I see imagination is the place where we get into where it actually allows us to entertain the ideas that God has for us. That imagination doesn't come from us. Ideally, in its best level, it actually comes from God. So what if 10 minutes a day you put your mind clearly on God? Can you see that that would make a difference? 10 minutes. It doesn't sound like a lot, but I bet you haven't put your mind clearly on God for 10 minutes in the last ever? And what would happen if you did that day after day after day and developed a pattern of listening to the next level of wisdom for your life? I think it would change everything. Will you pray with me? God, I open my mind to you. I hold nothing back. I'm just curious, God. What is the next level of good that you have for me? What's in the mind of God? What is the next wisdom for myself, my family, for this planet? What is the next level of good that would change the world, that would change my life? What are the higher ideals that I could entertain and transform all that I am? Today I stay mentally fit. I do my mental work. I exercise my mind. But I go even higher. I align my mind with the mind of God. I touch the presence and the power that God is. In the name and through the power of the living Christ, we give thanks. And so it is. Amen.